Amazing act of kindness in a snowstorm exposes a hidden fortune, a transformative twist awaits. As the winds howled outside like a pack of wolves, Sarah tightened her scarf around her neck, heart racing with a mix of concern and uncertainty. It wasn't unusual for the townsfolk to avoid Mr. Henderson's home. His unwelcoming glare and gruff demeanor had earned him a reputation as the town curmudgeon. But Sarah, a devoted nurse, felt differently. She believed everyone, especially in the frigid grip of winter, deserved compassion. Approaching his ramshackle house, she was engulfed in swirling snow, the world around her turning white and ghostly. Each step felt monumental, as if she were climbing a mountain of doubt and fear. With a small bag of supplies slung over her shoulder, she hesitated at the door. What if he slammed it in her face? Maybe he didn't want her meddling in his life. But then she remembered the stories she'd heard, how he lost his wife years ago, how loneliness could weigh down on even the strongest of hearts. Emotional turmoil gripped her. Should she risk the rejection for the sake of reaching out? Taking a deep breath, Sarah knocked. The sound was swallowed by the snow, but she stood firm, battling the tendrils of self-doubt that coiled around her thoughts. Suddenly, she was enveloped by the memory of countless patients she had comforted, people whose pain she'd eased, not just by healing their wounds, but by listening, by showing up. But Mr. Henderson wasn't one of her patients, nor did he want her input. The thought chilled her more than the wind biting at her cheeks. "Go away," came the gravelly reply from inside, a voice thick with disdain. For a moment, her resolve faltered. But what if she didn't knock again? Would she be one more person who let him languish in silence? She knocked harder, the echoes of her heart pounding against her ribs. "Fine." The door creaked open, revealing Mr. Henderson's haggard face, his eyes narrowing at her with suspicion. "Mr. Henderson, I just wanted to bring you some supplies. It's a rough night out there." He hesitated, clearly weighing his options, then reluctantly stepped aside. The warmth of his home enveloped her. Temporary respite from the frost outside, but a hint of something else lingered. A heavy air of sorrow hung like a tapestry of losses. Hours later, after sharing a few cups of tea that laced their conversations with unexpected laughter, Sarah felt a connection blossoming, warmed by the first flames of friendship amidst the cold. But then, curiosity nagged at her. As the wind howled louder outside, she noticed an unmarked door in the attic, half open, a whisper of the past beckoning her closer. "Can I see what's in there?" she asked, the question tinged with an innocent hope. That he frowned, the joy of earlier conversations fading. Why would you want to go there? There was the barrier between them, built on years of unresolved grief and isolation. Determined to bridge this divide, she stepped inside without waiting for an answer. What she uncovered shook her to her core. Photographs, letters, remnants of a life rich with history. And then, the shocking revelation, a fortune left to him, an allocation of wealth he never claimed due to guilt and pain. A tumult of emotions sparked within her. The man she'd come to see beyond the frost of his exterior was battling shadows far darker than she'd imagined. How could she help him confront this vast, new reality while navigating the fear of how the town would react? Before we continue, I need to tell you about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system, and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, click the bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can leave a like, it really helps with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, tell me in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now, let's continue. Her mind raced. How would she protect Mr. Henderson from the town's insatiable greed? Anxiety gripped her as she stared at the stack of papers, her heart twisting. What was she willing to sacrifice? The weight of morality pressed down on her. If she stood beside him, would it cost her everything? A frigid wind rattled the window, raising the hairs on the back of her neck. This journey was spiraling into uncharted territory. Just then, a loud knock echoed from below, shattering the fragile moment they were coming for him. Would she have the strength to confront the growing storm? The ache in her chest tightened, knowing everything she believed was about to be tested. The loud knock reverberated in the dim house, sending an electric jolt through Sarah. She exchanged a hurried glance with Mr. Henderson, who stood frozen, the color draining from his face. The realization crashed over her. The town was about to descend upon him, and he would need her strength more than ever. This was no longer about a simple act of kindness. It had morphed into a defining moment in both their lives. "Stay here," she whispered, even though she sensed the futility of the command. The shadows of his past loomed large between them, fear pulling him into the darkness again. But she wouldn't allow it. Not now. Not when connection had begun to spark warmth in his chilly heart. When she opened the door, she was met by the storm-ravaged figures of Mr. Henderson's neighbors, their breath visible in the frigid air. "We're here to see Mr. Henderson." A voice barked, a familiar tone loaded with an unspoken accusation. "Why are you looking for him?" Sarah squared her shoulders, braving the chill both from the wind and from the hostile glares. "Because we think he might have come into some money," one of the men sneered, a self-satisfied grin splitting his face. "He has been keeping to himself, as usual." With every word, her resolve intensified. They were not just intruders. They were vultures waiting to pick the bones of someone they viewed as faltering. Fueled by fierce determination, she planted her feet firmly. "What do you mean by that?" The man shrugged, feigning casualness. "Just hearsay, you know. Nothing but rumors." He paused, narrowing his eyes threateningly, coming from credible sources. She could feel her blood pressure rising. "Mr. Henderson isn't just a rumor. He deserves respect and privacy." Sarah shot back, her voice steady despite her heart racing. Each word provided her a surge of power, washing away remnants of self-doubt. They scoffed. "You really think he is worth defending? He has been a hermit for decades. Clearly, he has something to hide." The group shifted nearer, cutting off the warmth of the moment she had begun to forge with Mr. Henderson. With a deep breath, Sarah realized that this confrontation was a crucial test of her own strengths and values. Protecting Mr. Henderson meant confronting her own fears of failure, judgment, and vulnerability. "You don't know him at all. You don't know what he has been through," she declared, feeling the fierce heat of her own emotion. The statement boiling forth from a place of authenticity she didn't know she possessed. Mr. Henderson emerged, his own fear dissipating as he stepped beside her, his posture slightly more confident, bringing an unexpected resurgence of hope into the fray. "I don't need your judgments, none of you do," he said, his voice surprisingly steady, echoing the strength Sarah had found within herself. Stunned by his reaction, the crowd paused, confusion written across their faces. They had expected submission, not resilience. A silence enveloped them, a moment loaded with potential change. But then one man stepped forward, eyes glinting with greed. "You think you could just hide? You can't hold on to something that isn't yours, old man. We'll make sure the town knows you've struck gold, and it won't be long before they come asking." For the first time, Sarah felt a shiver of fear. They were right. The town's eyes would soon be on them. But what she had learned in the hospital corridors was the essence of standing up for what was right, of fighting against the currents of judgment and loss. This moment could change everything for both of them, but it was a risk that might cost her dearly. Still, she'd come too far to back down now. As the neighbors began to disperse, she locked eyes with Mr. Henderson, a silent agreement flowing between them. They would confront this challenge together, no matter what it cost them. But a gnawing uncertainty lingered at the back of her mind. How far would she go to protect him? As they retreated inside, a new realization took hold. The true test of her courage was only just beginning. And outside, the storm only grew fiercer, mirroring the brewing storm of emotions within. The time had come to not only face the town, but to unravel the hidden truths of their intertwined fates. What further mysteries awaited them beyond the attic door? Would they stand together against the oncoming tide, or would the shadows of their past swallow them whole? The wind howled outside like a wailing ghost, clawing at the edges of the old house where Sarah and Mr. Henderson sat in the dim light of the living room. The crackling fireplace cast flickering shadows on the walls, but the warmth it provided struggled to reach their hearts, overwhelmed by what had just transpired. Mr. Henderson settled into an armchair, his face etched with lines of worry that deepened under the weight of impending scrutiny. Sarah could see the storm in his eyes, not just from the weather outside. "I've lived in this town for years without ever being noticed," he whispered, "and now, like a candle in the wind, my past might extinguish the very light I've hidden from." Her heart ached for him. He'd become more than just a solitary figure shrouded in mystery. He was a man with a convoluted history, and in standing up for him, she realized she had stepped into uncharted territory, an arena where judgment reigned and no one played fair. "You're not alone in this," she said, her voice stronger than she felt, an anchor in the rising tide of uncertainty. He looked at her, searching for the depths of her resolve. "But how do I fight against those who want to bring me down? They know how to play this game better than I ever will." Sarah considered his words. She had faced down judgment in her own life, but this was different. The stakes were far higher, yet she felt a burgeoning courage deep within her. Understanding flickered in her mind. The act of defending him was transforming her sense of self-worth as she stepped out of the shadows of her past insecurities. "You can teach me," she said, her confidence rising with an urgency she didn't wish to wrestle. "Tell me about your life, Mr. Henderson. The more I know, the more I can help you confront this." As he began to share his journey, stories poured forth like a dam breaking. He spoke of lost loves and the disdain of townsfolk who never saw beyond his frail exterior. With each revelation, Sarah listened. She recognized the profound experience that molded his character, transforming her understanding of resilience and survival. Yet, as he divulged secrets, she felt a flicker of anxiety. What would happen if the town discovered these truths? Then he paused mid-sentence, an epiphany dawning in his eyes. "You're right," he breathed. "I've been paralyzed with fear, thinking it was just about evading the world outside. But perhaps this is the moment to reclaim my voice. I've hidden myself, believing it was safer." His conviction sent a thrill through her. They could no longer hide, not from the townspeople or from themselves. The impending confrontation demanded clarity, purpose, and the illumination of their shared truths. "Let us strategize," Sarah proposed, suddenly invigorated by the idea of collaboration, a partnership where they both could share their strengths and confront their pasts. While they planned, the tension between their distinct lives began to dissolve into one narrative. They would stand firm, an alliance bound by the complexities of their experiences, empowering each other toward growth. But as they plotted their next move, the window rattled against the battering wind, capturing Sarah's attention. The shadows outside danced as if an omen was approaching. Truth hung in the air as she contemplated the possible outcomes, acceptance or devastation. Their battle was just beginning, and the stakes had morphed into an impending reckoning with foes who thrived on cruelty. Before she could voice her growing concerns, a loud crash resounded from the attic above, a sound sharp enough to slice through their resolve. With hearts racing, they exchanged glances thick with questions. "What was that?" Mr. Henderson's voice cracked with suspicion. Fighting the instinct to turn back, Sarah made her decision. They had to investigate. What lay hidden in that attic could either save them or destroy everything they had worked to build. Would the revelations up there be illuminating, or would they simply deepen the shadows enveloping Mr. Henderson's past? Together, they ascended the creaking stairs, both aware that they were stepping into a domain of forgotten memories, a place that could redefine their shared fate. As Sarah and Mr. Henderson reached the attic door, the apprehension in the air thickened, wrapping around them like a fog. The crash that prompted their ascent still echoed in her mind. It had rattled her resolve, but now, standing at the threshold of the unknown, a spark of determination ignited within her. "We have to push through," she said, meeting Mr. Henderson's wary gaze. He nodded, albeit reluctantly, as though sharing the burden of both fear and hope. With a deep breath, she turned the handle and flung open the door. Dust motes danced in the dim light, filtering through a small, cracked window. The attic was strewn with old boxes and forgotten belongings, remnants of lives that had once occupied this space. Shadows loomed large, almost personifying the past they were both trying to confront. "Do you think someone else is up here?" Mr. Henderson asked, scanning the cluttered room as he stepped in cautiously. Sarah shook her head. "I don't think so." It felt like something fell. Her voice wavered, but as she pushed deeper into the attic, she felt an unexpected surge of curiosity. What hidden stories lay in the shadows? They maneuvered through the debris, the air thick with the scent of aged wood and memories long buried. Her heart raced with each creak of the floor. Memories of her own past, filled with indecision and doubts, flickered in the back of her mind. Yet, amid this uncertainty, she felt a vital clarity. Her decision to enter this space wasn't merely about uncovering Mr. Henderson's secrets. It was also about finding pieces of herself that had been fragmented over the years, as they rummaged through boxes. Mr. Henderson's hands soon unearthed a tattered journal bound in weathered leather. "Look at this," he said, his voice a blend of astonishment and trepidation. He flipped it open, revealing delicate handwriting filled with annotations and sketches that captured moments from a life lived in the shadows. Sarah leaned closer, her interest piqued. The pages spoke of dreams unrealized and aspirations crushed under the weight of judgment. They were imbued with a raw honesty so stark that it stripped away any pretense. This is you," she said softly, feeling a connection ripple through her. He nodded, but the light in his eyes dwindled. "These words represent who I used to be. I haven't been that man in a long time." While he struggled against a tide of regret, she felt a surge of empathy. She wanted to coax him back into that light, to show him how resilience bred from authenticity could pave the way to redemption. "Perhaps you can embrace this man once again," she urged, her conviction growing. "His experiences, his insights, they're part of you. They can help you face whatever is coming." As he flipped through more pages, they stumbled upon a series of sketches depicting what looked suspiciously like the town itself, along with detailed accounts of its history intertwined with Mr. Henderson's life. Each drawing seemed to pulsate with a life of its own, revealing glimpses of forgotten alleys and hidden corners that had shaped their community. This could change everything, Sarah breathed, her mind racing with possibilities. If you share these stories, it could challenge the misconceptions woven into your past. Mr. Henderson's brow furrowed in thought. But what if they don't accept the truth? What if it opens old wounds? Sarah understood his fear, the pulse of judgment that hung over them like the storm outside. Yet something vital surged within her. Do you want to live in fear forever? When you share your truth, you empower not just yourself, but others drawn to their own shadows. As she spoke, she felt her own anxieties lifting. Suddenly, the attic felt less like a place of decay and more like a wellspring of potential. The transformation was palpable, and they were both, in that moment, standing at the threshold of a rebirth, he as a man reclaiming his narrative, and she as a woman confronting her sense of agency. Driven by a newfound determination, Sarah reached for the journal, but froze at a sudden rustle from the corner of the attic, piercing through their moment of reflection. Mr. Henderson tensed, eyes wide again. "What was that?" he whispered, as the atmosphere shifted sharply to one of dread. Before they could process the shift, the shadows within the attic seemed to constrict a presence stirring from the depths of their discovery. With adrenaline surging, they turned toward the source of the disturbance, now realizing their exploration might unearth not just a past, but a present that held staggering, unforeseen consequences. What were they about to uncover, and how would it reshape everything they believed? The questions loomed ominously in the air as they prepared to face whatever was lurking in the darkness. The rustling noise intensified, slicing through the heavy silence of the attic, a potent reminder of the tension sweeping over Sarah and Mr. Henderson. Her heart thrummed as she scanned the surrounding shadows, the remnants of forgotten lives now heavy with anticipation. What if this revelation bore not only the weight of history, but something that could redefine their futures? "Stay close," she whispered, rallying her courage. As they edged toward the source of the noise, she silently questioned her resolve. Was this curiosity or recklessness? Did she truly wish to unveil whatever lay hidden in the dark? The stakes were mounting, a reflection of her own internal struggle to confront the remnants of her past. Mr. Henderson took a cautious step forward, his breath held tight. Though they were faced with the unknown, a flicker of solidarity radiated between them, as if they were partners in this labyrinth of unraveling truth. As they both reached the edge of an overturned box, a sudden draft swept through, shifting the attic's chilling ambience. "Look," he whispered, pointing to a small, glimmering object half buried beneath an old tattered blanket. It was a pendant, gleaming boldly against the dusty backdrop, perfectly preserved despite the years of neglect. Instinctively, Sarah reached for it, her hand shaking with a mix of dread and excitement. "Is this what I think it is?" she murmured, as her fingers traced the intricate designs engraved on the surface. The knowledge of the pendant's potential significance sent a shiver down her spine. What if it's someone else's loss? Something sacred? Mr. Henderson said, his voice steady yet tinged with concern. The moral dilemma unfolded in Sarah's mind. Claim something that may not belong to her, or risk losing the opportunity to unveil a truth that could lead to healing. It wasn't just an object. This could be an emblem of hope, the missing piece her own quest for identity had long sought. "We have to know more," she replied, her voice fueled by determination. "What if this connects to your past?" The journal they had unearthed felt more alive in her grip, whispering stories of lives interwoven with her own burgeoning narrative. Mr. Henderson nodded but hesitated. Fear still shadowed his features. "What if we're uncovering something better left buried? I've hidden from these truths for years." "Sometimes," Sarah said, her heart racing, "it's the act of revealing that allows us to evolve. You can't stay in the shadows any longer." The words resonated deeply with her, an echo of her own struggles against the paralysis of uncertainty. She turned to the wall where the journal lay opened, pages fluttering in the cool breeze. "Look at how easily these stories could change lives," she encouraged, her voice resolute. As they pieced together the history, she could almost hear the echoes of those who once lived. Mr. Henderson hesitated before nodding. "All right, but if we proceed, we must be ready for whatever comes next. There could be ghosts literal or metaphorical." Deliberation faded as physical tension sharpened into focus. They faced the attic's profound depths like explorers embarking on uncharted territory, filled with expectations for discovery, but shadowed with the heavy knowledge that the past could hold both treasures and traps. An unmistakable stillness fell upon them as they prepared to delve deeper into the heart of the attic, each step guided by curiosity and an urgent desire for growth. Just as they moved to unearth more from the box, a glimmer in the corner of the room seized Sarah's attention. Drawing her gaze, she saw not just shadows, but a shaft of light illuminating something unexpected. A door, slightly ajar, concealing something that felt vital. "What's behind there?" she murmured, staring into the narrow expanse. Mr. Henderson followed her eyes, his expression shifting to one of determination. "It's time to find out. The moment has come to face whatever lies ahead." With every heartbeat, Sarah sensed they were on the cusp of transformation, uncovering something greater than themselves could shatter their pasts and reshape their futures. But what awaited them beyond that door could alter the very fabric of their identities. Would they be ready for it? As Sarah pushed the door ajar, a wave of stale air washed over her, filled with secrets waiting to be breathed anew. The dim light spilling into the small room revealed a trove of forgotten artifacts, furniture cloaked in dust, boxes stacked haphazardly, and an overwhelming sense of nostalgia that made the space feel alive. It was as if stepping into this realm of the past could embolden her to confront her own hidden fears. "Are you ready?" Mr. Henderson's voice broke through her reverie, and she nodded, steeling herself. This was not merely an exploration of the attic. It was an excavation of their lives. As they moved deeper, Sarah's fingers skimmed the surfaces of objects that had witnessed untold stories. A cracked mirror caught her gaze, and she caught a reflection not just of herself, but of resilience molded by years of hesitation and self-doubt. She had spent so long afraid of change, but now, in this moment, she desired it fiercely. "What is this?" she asked, pulling a tattered notebook from a nearby box. Its cover, battered yet somehow resolute, felt familiar. Flipping it open, she saw letters penned in a looping script. "Look at these," she said, her heart racing as she scanned the pages. "It's a journal, and it seems to belong to someone named Amelia." She was clearly an artist. Mr. Henderson approached, the unease in his demeanor slowly dissipating as the weight of discovery took precedence. Perhaps she south-connected to this place in ways we Haven T understood yet. What is written inside? As Sarah read, the entries mirrored her own struggles, the fear of inadequacy, longing for connection, the search for identity. She talks about feeling lost and afraid to carry on. Then, she mentions an exhibit, an opportunity to showcase her work, but hesitated, fearing rejection. The parallel resonated with Sarah. Just as Amelia had contemplated her worth as an artist, Sarah found herself scrutinizing her choices at the gallery, once weighed down by doubts about her own talent. Had she, too, been holding herself back from a potential she hadn't fully explored? What if, Sarah pondered aloud, we could find a way to restore Amelia's legacy? Her voice deserves to be heard. Mr. Henderson's brow furrowed in thought. But it's not just hers anymore. The echoes of her past entwine with yours. Perhaps confronting her journey could be the key to understanding your own. Encouraged by his words, Sarah felt a spark ignite within her. No longer just another person lost in the shadows. She could become a beacon of light, pushing beyond fear to embrace the fullness of her artistic spirit. This revelation wasn't just an act of kindness toward Amelia. It was self-discovery wrapped in the promise of change. With renewed resolve, she set the notebook aside and scanned the room for more potential artifacts of Amelia's life. If we can piece this together, maybe we can resurrect her spirit, but I need to document this journey. The room transformed before her eyes. Each object now held the possibility of profound significance. With purpose ignited, she began capturing their findings, threading them together into a narrative that demanded to be told. Yet as they continued their search, a sound drew her attention, a faint creak from behind them. The door they had entered through swung slowly on its old hinges, and darkness pooled at the threshold. It was a reminder that light could easily fade into shadow. "Do you hear that?" she whispered, apprehension creeping back in. Without waiting for a response, Sarah turned to the door, heart pounding. The implications of who or what might come through it sent a jolt of fear coursing through her, challenging her freshly forged determination. Were they prepared to face whatever emerged as they delved deeper into the interconnected tales of hope and loss? Something told her that the answers lay not just in restoring Amelia's narrative, but in daring to confront the darkness that lingered in both their pasts. The truth awaited. Would they be ready to embrace it? As the door creaked open wider, shadows danced across the attic floor, wrapping around the forgotten relics like ghosts beckoning for attention. Sarah felt a shiver run through her, a primordial instinct urging her to retreat, yet she remained rooted in place, her pulse quickening in defiance of the fear that threatened to unravel her newfound clarity. "Stay focused," she told herself, scanning the room's interior as if it would somehow shield her from whatever lay beyond that threshold. Her determination surged, fortified by the echoes of Amelia's struggles that still lingered in her mind. If Amelia had grappled with these feelings of inadequacy and fear, perhaps they were part of the human experience, an invitation to embrace her own vulnerabilities openly. "Do you think someone else is up here?" Mr. Henderson's voice trembled slightly, belying his otherwise composed demeanor. As a mentor, he had imparted many lessons on resilience, Yet now he seemed caught off guard by the unknown. Sarah glanced at him, drawing strength from their shared mission. She felt an unspoken bond forming between them, one that urged her forward amidst hesitation. Not just anyone. Someone who has a story a part of Amelia's life, Sarah replied, the weight of her words imbued with both fear and defiance. We need to finish what we started. With a deep breath, she stepped toward the door, her heart racing but fueled by a curious drive. What lay beyond could very well define her path of self-discovery and healing. Shadows curled and receded, each inch forward a push against both the physical and emotional barriers she had erected over the years. As they crossed the threshold into the dim passage beyond, Sarah's eyes widened, and she caught sight of a faded canvas leaning against the wall, its colors vibrant yet muted by time. "What is this?" she murmured, kneeling before it. The painting was a self-portrait, revealing an artist vulnerable and raw, mirroring the emotion she had felt while reading Amelia's journal. "This is a powerful reflection of her," Mr. Henderson observed, kneeling beside her. "Do you see the connection? Beneath the oil stains, a title written in faint strokes read, 'Fear and Freedom.' It invoked something profound within Sarah, propelling her into introspection. This was a moment of reckoning. Could she embrace her own extravagance as Amelia had? Or would she permit doubt to suffocate her again, invoking the fear of rejection that had once gripped her art? A realization washed over her. The essence of fulfillment lay not solely in the success of the exhibit, but in the courage to create, to express, to be seen and heard. As she traced the contours of the canvas, Sarah felt Amelia's spirit fusing with her own, awakening a yearning to bring their stories together, gloriously past and present intersecting to illuminate darkness. Yet, something shifted in the atmosphere, hazardous and visceral. The door slammed shut behind them, shrouding them in absolute stillness. "What just happened?" she whispered, panic creeping back in. "Stay close," Mr. Henderson urged, his voice steady. But now, there was an uneasy tension threading through his cadence. Fearful breaths punctuated the silence, her pulse a drumbeat of distress. Had they crossed into a territory from which there was no turning back? The darkness enveloped them again, but unlike the shadows they had encountered, this threat felt more alive, more intentional. Questions flared in her mind. What if the path they were about to uncover led far deeper into the labyrinthine depths of their anguish? Or could it serve as a catalyst for profound transformation? Compelled by the flicker of hope entwined with uncertainty, Sarah stood taller. This journey wasn't merely about Amelia anymore. It was about her reclamation, her embracing the vulnerable threads of anguish and triumph. As light trickled through cracks in the walls, illuminating fragments of their surroundings, Sarah faced the daunting darkness that swirled on the other side of her choices. "We can't turn back now," she asserted, her voice firm despite trembling limbs. "We owe it to Amelia and ourselves to uncover the truth." With that unyielding resolve, they moved deeper into the shadows, ready to confront whatever awaited them in the silence. In the pursuit of unraveling Amelia's legacy, Sarah sensed that she was not only shedding light on someone else's story, but potentially illuminating her hidden talents alongside it. The next echo of uncertainty hung in the air. What secrets would the darkness reveal? Would it be the source of her liberation, or simply another layer to sinister fears that threatened to consume her? The answers waited just ahead, cloaked in shadows. The air grew thick with an unsettling charge as they ventured deeper into the attic, the oppressive darkness enclosing them like a heavy blanket. Shadows twisted around relics, obscuring their once familiar shapes in the gathering gloom. Yet, amidst the dread drumming in her ears, Sarah felt a spark ignite within, a mingling of fear and excitement that propelled her forward. What if this is the key to my own truth? She pondered. Mr. Henderson moved cautiously beside her, his presence a reminder of the strength that could be drawn from collaborative resolve. They skated along the edges of uncertainty, seeking revelations left behind in generations of forgotten stories. Each dim corner they traversed had the gravitational pull of history, demanding to be acknowledged. As they approached a small table draped in a dusty cloth, Sarah felt a magnetic pull, an inexplicable urgency to peel back the layers of what had been covered. What if this is where Amelia poured out her heart? She marveled. She swiped at the dust, her hand trembling slightly, revealing a few papers and a small wooden box locked with a rusted latch. Should she attempt to open it? The thought flared with anxiety. Am I prepared for whatever lies within? But in the heart of that doubt lay a flicker of determination. She wanted to confront not just Amelia's past, but her own apprehensions about vulnerability and authenticity. The box represented fears unimaginable, but also the chance to harness her creativity in ways she had yet to dream. "Let us see if we can open this," Sarah said, her voice steady despite the knot of anxiety tightening in her gut. She fished in her pocket for a thin metal object. Perhaps, just perhaps, the inner treasures could provide answers both for Amelia and herself. Mr. Henderson watched intently, the flicker of a smile flickering at the edges of his lips as he held the lantern closer, its light glimmering off the box's roughened surface. With a soft click, the latch gave way, and Sarah opened the box. Inside lay an assortment of small sketches and handwritten notes. Amelia's penmanship unraveling on yellowing pages. Each scroll bore a frenzied energy, mirroring the painter's canvas they had discovered earlier. The sketches revealed scenarios of beauty and anguish, interwoven with poetic declarations of longing and discovery. This is incredible," Sarah breathed, her heart racing as she began to sift through the pages. The artwork teemed with emotion, stories filled with heartache, yet resonating with triumph over struggle. Drawing nearer to the pages, she felt Amelia's spirit wrapping around her, urging her to inhale deeply the essence of these narratives. The question of whether to expose her own vulnerabilities was unraveling. Perhaps she did not have to face this alone. This was a continuation, a partnership through time. As the words flooded her senses, she grew acutely aware of the impact Amelia had on her existence. Do I hold the power to translate these emotions into my own art? She questioned silently, a robust realization surfacing. Sharing what was raw could hold both the ability to heal her and resonate beyond the confines of her fears. Lessons about creativity were rising like ghosts around her, calling for acknowledgement. Gaining insight into Amelia's struggles and triumphs empowered Sarah to confront her inhibitions. But there was something else lurking, something deeper beneath the surface. "Sarah," Mr. Henderson's voice sliced through a focused reverie. "Do you realize what this means? You have a chance to create something transformative, a bridge between the past and present." The thought surged in her mind, electrifying. What if, beyond her fears, lay a revolutionary journey that would elevate her work and honor Amelia's legacy? The unyielding pulse of inspiration gripped her, yet with it came the undeniable anxiety of what expression demanded: raw honesty, relentless vulnerability. What if we turn this into a project about resonance? The struggle of an artist, the triumph in their creation she began, excitement mingling with uncertainty. But as the last word hung in the air, shadows flared ominously around them, and a chilling draft swept through the room, threatening to extinguish their light. Sarah's breath hitched in her throat. The anticipation of a breakthrough now shifted to a path laden with potential danger. "Something doesn't feel right," she whispered, meeting Mr. Henderson's expectant gaze. Their eyes locked in a moment laden with unspoken understanding. Facing their fears, they realized they could either confront or retreat from whatever darkness awaited. As the shadows thickened, something stirred in the depths, a harbinger of the trials to come. Would they emerge unscathed, or would the revelations carved from Amelia's legacy bring about a confrontation unlike any before? The impending confrontation loomed, as if the very fabric of their journey was threading dangerously close to unraveling. Sarah's heart thudded in her chest, each beat echoed by the unsettling silence around them. The rusted latch had given way, but with that triumph came a heavier disquiet. She felt the pressure of expectation in Mr. Henderson's gaze, his anticipation palpable, and she hesitated. What if, in probing Amelia's stories, she unlocked something far darker than inspiration? Trembling, she reached for a handful of tight scribbles. As her fingers grazed the pages, she sensed the weight of confinement. Beneath these sketches lay narratives of blood, sweat, and untold fears Amelia's relentless struggle against a world eager to dismiss her. There was beauty, but with it loomed a tempest of pain, a reminder of the price creativity demanded. Could she conquer her own insecurities and share these truths without being obliterated by them? Whatever's in here, it matters, Sarah whispered, mostly to herself. The dim lantern flickered, and shadows danced at the corners of her vision. She strained to focus, pulling Amelia's sketches closer, diving into a world where every stroke told of yearning. Every word reflected the artist's soul. She could exist, nestled in this rawness, but what then? Would speaking their truths set them free, or would it shackle her even further? "Remember why we're here, Sarah?" Mr. Henderson urged, his calmness cascading over her frenzy. "This is about growth, not just completion. You can transform these struggles into something powerful." His words wrapped around her like a protective shroud, igniting embers of determination. Each note from Amelia represented a decision made between fear and authenticity. What if I can do the same? She thought, emboldened by the flickering light despite the shadows threatening to quash it. What if these emotions become my voice? With renewed clarity, Sarah felt the familiar pulse of ambition. An idea stirred. She envisioned not merely replicating Amelia's works, but using them as a launchpad, transforming these revelations into her own. The mechanical action of scanning and copying was too simplistic for the complexities of the emotions she unearthed. "I want to create a piece that speaks our truth," she impulsively declared, "to share both the beauty and the sorrow. Being an artist means facing the darkness, right?" Mr. Henderson nodded, a faint smile illuminating his features. "Yes, but be mindful. There's a vast space between exposure and vulnerability. You must sift through the emotions intentionally." She absorbed his advice, aware that the threshold of growth lay not in making art for others, but as a confrontation of herself. Yet, with each layer she wished to peel back, dread seeped deeper in her heart. What if she failed to communicate her truths? The mere possibility of rejection clawed at her insides. But in that moment, shadows wove tighter around her, and she shivered. What if Amelia's legacy isn't a clear blessing? She sought clarity amid the frenzy of her thoughts, fueled by the storm of questions spiraling in her mind. Rather than guidance, could it become a burden? The lantern flickered again, gusts of air flowing through the attic, as though the long-vanished voices were rising in protest. Sarah's grip on the notes tightened instinctively. Had she disturbed a slumbering power, the very essence of Amelia's spirit? "I feel it, Sarah." Mr. Henderson broke through her anxious thoughts, his brow knitted in concern. "There's something else at play here. It isn't just about art. It's about facing the shadows. These messages aren't waiting for you to interpret." His statement felt like an electric shock, and an unsettling realization gripped Sarah. Confronting Amelia's legacy might mean confronting her own past as well. What darkness did she harbor beneath her creative surface? What if revealing Amelia's truths would unearth her own skeletons? The air thickened, shadows nestled closer, and as she stared back into the box, she understood that the collision of past and present would force her to explore uncharted territories of personal vulnerability. The real confrontation was looming, one where she had to grapple not only with Amelia's narrative but with her own fraught journey. Holding her breath, Sarah marveled at the poignant irony seeking creativity through another's shadows that could so easily cast her own into doubt. The lantern dimmed, casting an ominous flicker as the dread drew near surrounding her. What lay ahead, concealed beneath layers of dust and memory? Just as the attic grew colder, a distant sound reverberated, a floorboard creaking beneath an unseen weight, erasing the boundary between the buried past and her present. Did the remnants of Amelia's life harbor hidden lessons? Or would she awaken more than just echoes within herself? What truth awaited her beyond the veil? As the cold encased them, Sarah and Mr. Henderson braced themselves against the encroaching shadows. This journey had morphed from a simple act of kindness into a formidable confrontation, not only with the town and its glaring judgments, but with the intimate fears buried deep in their own hearts. With a steadying breath, Sarah faced the scattered remnants of Amelia's life. Each sketch and scribbled note revealed the artist's tortured essence. These were not simply relics of the past. They were a lifeline for Sarah, a mirror reflecting her own tumultuous journey. Could she dare to mold those fragmented stories into a bold tapestry of her own? The possibilities shimmered with promise. Mr. Henderson, emboldened by their shared mission, took a step closer. "You can channel this energy, reshape it," he urged, the fire igniting in his eyes. "You've already begun uncovering layers of experience. This moment could define you." In that charged moment, Sarah realized the depth of their connection. Their shared vulnerability was turning into a platform of resilience. "I can't just replicate what Amelia experienced," she replied with newfound determination. "I must transform it, take this legacy, and make it new. It's not just about art, but breathing life back into the past." The shadows in the attic seemed to flicker in agreement, their energies aligning with her resolve. She could feel the power of storytelling surging through her veins. Each stroke of Amelia's brush and each glance at her words held the potential for a new narrative, one of triumph over despair. "But remember," Mr. Henderson cautioned, his tone both serious and supportive, "transformation requires facing your fears head-on. This isn't merely about survival. It's about thriving through authenticity." Sarah nodded, understanding the weight of his words. While she had cared for patients in the past, witnessing their vulnerabilities had ignited her empathy. Now, she needed to channel that understanding into her art. The journey towards self-discovery required courage to unearth every tangled emotion lodged within her heart. As she plunged further into Amelia's sketches, she began to see them as blueprints not merely for creation, but for an exploration of spirit. What themes resonated with her? Fear juxtaposed with freedom seemed a captivating thread. The shadows writhed around her, as if the remnants of Amelia's past beckoned her to illuminate a path not just for herself, but for others. Suddenly, an overwhelming sense of empowerment washed over her. "I can create an exhibition," she whispered, exhilarated by the revelation. "Not just to showcase Amelia's work, but as a dialogue between our experiences. It will honor her story while inviting others to unveil their own." Mr. Henderson smiled, a warmth radiating from his gaze. "That's it. Your artistic journey can become a beacon, a call for others to challenge their fears, just as you are." Moments passed like breaths of fresh air as they meticulously sorted through the remnants, each piece bubbling with life. A soft wind caressed their faces, swirling through the dusty treasures, infusing their aspirations with a sense of urgency and purpose. They were no longer just stewards of the past. They were architects of a future entwined with creativity and courage. "We'll showcase the struggles and the triumphs," Sarah declared, her voice imbued with conviction. "The darkness does not need to define us. It can empower us." As she spoke, the shadows couldn't tether her spirit. The flickers of doubt that had once held her back were fading fast. She wasn't traversing this path alone. With Mr. Henderson's presence at her side, they would face the town together, confronting judgments with truth and authenticity. "I can feel it," he replied, a firm resolve in his voice. "Your vision has the potential to resonate, to break chains of silence for so many who felt unheard. It's about reclaiming voices, starting our own movement of change." With courage ignited, Sarah felt a wave of transformation wash over her. No longer merely a nurse assisting others, she was stepping into her own identity as an artist who merged her lived experiences with hope. This was her moment, a chance to create a compelling narrative that bridged the gaps between past and present, darkness and light. As they descended from the attic, a sanctuary of secrets transformed into a launch pad of renewed purpose. Sarah felt the exhilaration of possibility coursing through her. They would confront the town, not as outcasts, but as victors determined to assert their legacies, asserting that vulnerability is not a weakness but a strength. Together, they would forge a pathway toward understanding and compassion, resonating through every corner of their community. Now, in this realization, Sarah experienced profound growth. Through her engagement with Amelia's life, she found her own voice, gaining confidence and the fortitude to face the future head-on. Stand firm, she thought. This narrative was not just to be spoken. It must shatter the silence this small town upheld for far too long. As they stepped into the blizzard outside, Sarah felt the life burgeoning within her, the promise of the exhibition shimmering brightly ahead. And just like that, she knew she had conquered more than a quest for artistry. She had conquered the shadows of her self-doubt, reclaiming her place among the voices of her community. This was not the end, it was the beginning of something incredible. Subscribe immediately to the channel to not miss the next exclusive emotional stories. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm. Your support matters. Comment your reactions and theories about the ending. Let us open up the dialogue. Share instantly this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this conclusion. Don't wait even one more second to share. True fans of personal overcoming stories understand and value the importance of supporting the channel through these actions.